Welcome to another edition of the Tiger Men's Lacrosse Report. I'm your host, Spiro Marikas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Sean Nadlin. And Coach, Tigers last Saturday taking on Hampton, a team that was looking for their first conference win. You were looking to stay undefeated, and you did. And I think you probably got everything you wanted out of Saturday's ball game.
Yeah, we wanted our guys to, step on the field at, another conference game, another opportunity to get on the field and compete, at our level, and we were able to do that. I thought the guys went out there and being able to play as many guys as we did, everybody was, not only excited, but, being able to play to their level and to the level that we want, which was great to see. Guys that don't always get on the field, getting out there and showcase, what they can do.
And then there were a couple of moments that I thought were kind of special. Dan Riley, senior day, honored with his parents before the game, short stick defensive midi, and he scores his first ever goal in his senior year and on senior day. That was probably a moment that brought a lot of cheering on the sidelines.
Yeah, everybody was pumped up, for Dan. Again, he's been in a very supportive role, as that defensive midfielder, and for him to be able to execute that play with Mikey on the give and go was great to see. And then Dan having the poise and the ability to read that. That's part of how we want to continue to develop and having guys be able to play lacrosse and play kind of loose and free like that. So very excited for him on senior day to do that.
And then Matt Burnham, if he played every game against Hampton, he'd be the leading scorer in the country.
Yeah, he, again,
2 years in a row, just huge games.
Matt was a guy that was slated to start for us, in the preseason, had worked well, worked hard. Just in the scrimmages, things weren't falling in place for him. I don't know if he was putting a lot more pressure on himself than he needed to. And with that, things kind of opened up the door for Ronan, and Ronan obviously has done a good job kind of stepping into that role, but Matt's continued to work hard, continued to do what we ask, playing some midfield, playing some attack. And his opportunity came against Hampton, and he played the way that he's been playing, which is great, and that allows us more of what to see for him moving forward here and the end of the regular season. If we need some more depth.
What's it like? And you were a player that you were a starter. You were not one of those guys sitting on the bench every game. You were playing. But what's it like for the starters when the guys that work hard and practice every day but don't get to see the field? What's it like when they have success on the sideline?
Those guys, just like, it goes both ways. When the starters are out there and doing well, the whole team's excited. The guys on the sideline are all juiced up and pumped up. Same thing when, the guys that are typically on the sideline are on the field and producing and doing well and making plays, the bench, is just as excited, and they're, pumped up about the opportunities for those guys, and then also those guys being able to make plays. And a lot of those guys are, younger guys too. So it's, again, seeing those freshmen, those sophomores that really haven't had a ton of experience or opportunities, really get their feet underneath them and make some plays. So the energy was great. I thought the guys were, a great team on Saturday.
All right, different situation coming up this Saturday at Johnny Unitas Stadium. You're taking on the 15th ranked team in the country that have really come from out of nowhere, the Stags of Fairfield. Last year they were 8-7, so they were a respectable team. But this year they've taken it to another level, and basically with the same guys that they had last year. You look, and of their top 6 scorers, 5 of them were there last year, led by Keegan Lynch, who's got 40 points. This is a team that's got 5 guys with at least 15 goals, so they spread the ball around offensively.
They do. They're talented. They're a group that knows each other well, kind of as you alluded to. They were young, as you can kind of feel, as you alluded to there. They were young a couple years ago, just missed an opportunity to beat Delaware in the semifinals last year, a game that they had pretty good control in, and just kind of, I would think they probably let it slip through their fingers to a very good Delaware team in the semifinals last year. And I think that's really motivated them coming back this year with all that experience and all those guys having another year together and that chemistry building and everything. So they're definitely playing at a higher level.
Defensively, they've caused 148 turnovers in 12 games. That's an outstanding number.
Yeah, they're, Radicic, who was Rookie of the Year last year and continuing to have a very strong year this year. He kind of leads the charge there. He's a guy that just does a great job in the middle of the field and on the close defensive end. And they're a team that is an aggressive team defensively, and they're going to come after you. They're going to try to create opportunities to get the ball on the ground and push transitions. So, yeah, they do a good job with that.
And then Owen Hurst, the goalkeeper, averaging 55% save percentage, so he's tough. They're also a team that jumps on you early. They're a team that has outscored opponents 104-46 in the first half. So you got to be on your P's and Q's from the opening whistle.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. It's a CAA, obviously, game and a team that's playing extremely well, having a really strong season this year. They're doing a great job at the face-off X, which I think allows that early success to come along. Obviously, you mentioned the goalie. He's a guy that plays with a ton of energy. He's a good-sized kid that does a great job in the net. Being able to make some tough saves and making it a challenge for the shooters. So again, with all their returning players, and just a little bit more underneath them as far as experience, they're playing with a lot of confidence.
Now, does your team realize what's at stake here this Saturday? That a victory and you clinch the regular season title?
I'm sure they're probably aware of that.
Do you bring it up?
It's nothing we've talked about. Again, our focus is every day in practice, being able to put our best on the field and competing at our best. We know that Fairfield's our next opponent. We're preparing for those guys, and being able to, it's going to be an awesome CAA game. There's no doubt about that. So we're preparing for that.
Temperature is supposed to be in the high 70s, so come on out to Johnny Unitas Stadium Saturday at noon. If not, Glenn Smith and I will have it for you on TowsonTigers.com. So, for the head coach of the Tigers, Sean Nadlin, I'm Spiro Marikas. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Tiger Men's Lacrosse Report.